Hello and welcome to Migrant Talent Garden, Croatia. This is a project that is founded by Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway through the EEA grants and Norway Grants Fund for Youth Employment. We are working on empowering and supporting migrants in Croatia to start business or incorporate NGO. In this workshop, we will focus on legal aspects of starting a business in Croatia. And our mentor, Marijana Šarović-Robić, who is a lawyer and expert and a mentor in our startup incubator, will tell you more about how to start your company in Croatia. Marijana.
The floor is mine. Great,
Yes.
Thank you. Petra gave a little introduction, so I will continue. The idea is that we try to give you some tips and tricks and make your life easier. And we know that most of you are basically already having some entrepreneurship experience or are having some kind of desire to start your own businesses. So we would like to give you a legal framework, or how can you do that in Croatia and what is feasible, like a small introduction. So let's start. So if you want to do business in Croatia, you basically have to think about what legal modes of doing business there exist. You probably already encounter all of those three modes. Limited liability companies, or d.o.o, društvo sa ograničenom odgovornošću, simple limited liability companies, or j.d.d.o, jednostavno društvo s ograničenom odgovornošću, craft, Croatian obrt ili paušalni obrt. So let's go further to see what are the differences between them. Differences between d.o.o and j.d.d.o are basically just, I would say, in figures, but still you have to be aware of them. It's a number of founders, it's a share capital amount you need to pay to start your own business, and a cost of incorporation. So when it comes to d.o.o, the key features are you have to have at least one founder, but you have no limit on how many additional founders you can have. So basically you need to have a statutory document. That is a document that every company has to have. It's called Articles of Association. You have to have a share capital in the minimum amount of 20,000 kunas. That has to be paid on an interim account with the bank of your choice. And once the company is incorporated, you can use that money for your business operations. You can buy equipment, you can pay your vendors, you can pay your salaries. You have to have a management board. So it usually, the Croatian companies, especially d.o.os, regular ones, have two directors, but legally you only have to have one director. And usually the person who incorporates the company is the person who is also a director. So don't worry, you don't have to find additional person to be your director. You can be your director yourself if you go for this option. Cost of incorporation is basically around 2,500 kunas. And these are the fees that you have to pay either to the company court register fee for the incorporation or to the notary public for the certifying the documents you will need to establish your company. Beware that closing of d.o.o is also in the same amount, equivalence of 2,500 kunas, but only providing that your company has no debts. So you can use that mode. So if your business doesn't work out as you wish, or you decide to close it anyway, you can use this so-called short liquidation process and have it for the equivalent amount of kunas closed. And that is always my advice. Don't leave it open and unmonitored. If you decide it's enough, just close it and leave no trails behind you. When it comes to your d.o.o, remember we said one is minimum with d.o.o, but maximum there is none. With your d.o.o, you can have up to 5 people. So if you are more than 5 of you who want to incorporate the company, your d.o.o is not a good way to do it. But if you are less than 5 people, you can have j.d.d.o. Articles of association is also the benchmark document, the status of your company. Share capital is rather low, it's only 10 kunas. So remember, with d.o. we had 20,000, and with j.d.d.o we have only 10 kunas. And management board is just 1 director. So you can't have 2 directors. The reason that Croatian companies usually have 2 directors is just operational. So if one is traveling or is having a holiday, the other one can sign the document. And with j.d.d.o, you can only have 1 director. And as same as with d.o, such director can be also the person who is a founder, so the shareholder of the company. The cost of incorporation is around 800, so it's much less than incorporating d.o. And as with j.d.d.o and as with d.o and j.d.d.o can also be closed in so-called short liquidation process, and approximately costs 600 kunas, and you have to be aware that the company should not have any debts. Let's go further. As when we come to craft incorporation, craft or obrt is basically a register with a competent craft registry. So you do it with the, depending on the city you are based on, town you are based on, usually it's with the city authorities, they have this craft register. So the process can be done for approximately 200 kunas, and these are usually only the fees. And you can check online what are the, let's say, allowed business activities for obrt, but you have to really be aware that some of the business activities need you to have so-called master degree, like majstorski ispit. So if you want to be a hairdresser or, I don't know, work as a chef, you have to have that certificate. Otherwise, you are not allowed to register as obrt. You can register as d.o, but not as obrt. Closing of obrt is recently free of charge. So once you decide you don't want to go for business activity anymore, basically you can close it free of charge with the relevant city craft register. Also, the modification to the existing craft, there is so-called paušalni obrt. And the only difference between paušalni obrt and obrt is basically more or less tax scheme schedule that falls and liabilities that fall within it. So you have to check that with the relevant tax advisor or the good accountant. Articles of association, as you may remember, are the key document for your company. No matter if you have d.o or you have j.d.d.o, you basically have to have articles of association. If you have just 1 founder, it's izjava o osnivanju in Croatian, or društveni ugovor if you have 2 and more founders, but basically it's the same document. That document basically identifies who the shareholders are. So it's not that only physical natural person can incorporate company. You can also have a company incorporating company. You decide on your company name, on your business seat, on your business activities. You basically rule your share capital, so we know who is holding how much of your share capital if there are more than 1 founder. What is crucial, and you have to really be aware of this, if you are more than 1 founder, please write down agreement, handwritten and signed by all of you, or you can do it in Word, you can do it in any other mode, but do it in a paper, do it in a document, and identify clear deadlines, roles, and who is going to bring the capital, who is going to work, who is going to bring the know-how, who is going to provide goods. Because if you don't do that, unfortunately, life plays the game in such a manner that people do not remember what they promised to oneself or to one another. So it's much easier to have this written document saying that, I don't know, me and Petra are going to find a company. It's going to be called Mariana and Petra, and we are going to provide business consultancy services. I'm going to bring my own computer. Petra is going to provide for the office, and we are going to divide the business that I'm going to give, I don't know, maybe office management support and sales and marketing, and Petra is going to do the business consultancy. Stuff like that will basically make your life much, much, much easier. And when it comes to ups and downs in a company, you will be in much better position to tell to another, but you remember, and you produce a paper and say, you remember when we talked, you said that you are going to deliver this, and now we are in a position, and can you please provide this? And people usually, when they see that they have something written down and that they have signed it, they are more eager to do it than when it's only, you told me, but there is no proof to do it. Also, what is great to do as a game between shareholders, between founders, is to play different scenarios. So you play with good and bad ones. The good ones are like, you have a wonderful rollout, you have loads of customers, you have to employ other people, how you are going to pay the profits, you are getting an investor, and you basically play with how that investor is going to come into your company. If there are any debts that your company incurs in the early stages, like you provide your life savings or deposit, or somebody of your family gives you some money to start your business, you have to agree in advance, this is my recommendation, it's not by law, how and when those shareholders' loan will be repaid. If you see that your business model is not working, so you have to change, like you started with the restaurant and then you decide that maybe it's much better to have just a regular cafe because your customers don't want to have a whole lunch for various reasons, or you realize that you completely have a wrong market fit for the product or service you are going to offer. It's very important that you agree that such decision is going to be brought unanimously or maybe by a qualified number of shareholders. So all of those things should be discussed in advance as a game and maybe written down, but also you have to concentrate on a solution and how we are going to address those challenges. Liquidation and bankruptcy are also important, because my advice is not to go to the bankruptcy stage. My advice is to go only to the liquidation stage and to stop the game if it's not playing yourself, and not to allow your company and your reputation to have some debts. So physically, how we are going, what is the actual procedure we have to follow to incorporate your company? As I said, you have to agree on the stuff that goes into statute, into your društveni ugovor or izjavu o osnivanju. So you have to agree how your company is going to be called, what is going to be your share capital, 10 kunas or 20,000 kunas, what kind of business activities you are going to do. This is something that it's publicly available in so-called national klasifikacija djelatnosti, and you can basically Google it up. You can also investigate in Sudski register, that's online company register, to see what some similar register company have as their registered business activity. Beware that you can only provide business activities you are registered for. You can also ask the advice from attorney at law, you can ask the advice from the notary public, or go to the relevant company register yourself and investigate which business activities you should cover. Once you have agreed on who is going to be the founder, what is going to be the share capital, and what you are going to do, under which name and where the business seat is going to be, you meet with either attorney at law, or you go with your attorney at law to the notary or directly to the notary. You can also use FINA or Web e-tvrtka services if you have e-digital ID. So these are the services that are provided for the Croatian citizens. I'm not sure if you have that status already approved, but nevertheless, it's good to know that there is this whole package of services that is called e-građanin that is available for Croatian citizens, and most of the services are provided digitally. You have to pay the share capital with the bank of your choice. You can also do it through financial agency or FINA, as we call it here. And once you have a certificate of payment of share capital and you have your statute or articles of association already certified by the Notary Public, you can apply for registration with the company register. You can either do it with the notary or, as I said, with the e-tvrtka, or FINA also serves for that. It takes 5 to 10 business days to get your decision on incorporation issued if everything is okay with your application. Once you do that, you have to obtain so-called statistical number, that is number under which your business activity is being listed. It can be also done online via email. Once you have your decision of incorporation, that is basically issued electronically, so you can just download it and forward it to the Croatian Statistical Bureau and ask for a statistical number for your company. You can decide, it's not crucial because it's not obligatory to make a stamp, pechat, but you don't have to do it anymore. Once you have the statistical number, you go to FINA and you apply to true ownership register. You basically have to state who your founders, shareholders in the company are. If they are companies who are founding another company, you have to get to the last physical natural person and you have to provide the data and the percentage of shareholding in your company. And when you have all of those papers, so your articles of association, payment of share capital, decision on incorporation, obtained statistical number, register with FINA in true owner register, you can finally open your business bank account with the same bank where you pay the share capital, and you can start your business operations. Please beware that the cost of accountant and the bank fees for running your bank account for the company will start from day one. So do calculate that, do ask how much those fees are and do calculate them in your business plan. When it comes to craft, obrt ili, as we say, trade, you can do it with obrtni register. So as I said before, craft register is done, is basically run in each city by relevant city authorities. You can also do it via e-građanin or application, as we have e-tvrtka for companies, you also have it for e-obrt. Cost of incorporation is around 200 kunas. Also, you have to think about which business activities you can choose and whether you have, if it is required by law to have a master degree. As we said, for hairdresser, you should have it. And also calculate the accountant and bank fees from the day one of your operations. Please be aware of the difference in taxations between the employed and non-employed person, and so-called paušalni obrt and obrt. The same, let's say, warning goes also with directors of j.d.d.o or j.d.d.o. If you are not working anywhere else, you basically have to be employed with your company. But if you are working somewhere else and you are paying your social contribution and taxes, you don't have to be employed with your company. When it comes to obrt, a similar rule applies, but you have to really investigate thoroughly before incorporating either j.d.d.o, j.d.d.o or obrt, which is the best and the most preferential tax scheme for you. And this is my advice, to check it with a good accountant, on either contact the tax advisor. This is something that I always share with my startups and entrepreneurs that I work with, and probably some of you already had some workers being employed. So beware that when you have employees in Croatia, you have to have a written employment agreement. Minimum provisions are basically defined by the Labor Act, so you have to beware. It's called Zakon o radu, so you have to be aware that it has to be in written form, and all minimal provisions have to be there. Salaries, data on employer or employee, on whether it's employment for definite or indefinite period of time, whether there is a probation period for the worker, it's a maximum of 6 months for the moment. So beware that from the day one, if you get yourself employed with a company because you work nowhere else, you have to have this, let's say, organizational standard, and beware that your documents regarding your employment relationship have to be in order and in place, because there are rather high penalties and fines there if you get somebody employed and you don't have a written form of the employment agreement, or such employment agreement is not in the right form with the right data. When it comes to dealing with your future partners and clients, my recommendation is always to have a written agreement. Beware that you are a legal entity, so due care of higher standard is being imposed on you, and therefore it's only sufficient to do it via email. So if you don't have funds, or you don't think you need an agreement with your partners and clients, you can do it via email, or just with a purchase and order, purchase order or offer form. Please define a clear scope of your work and timeline and price for your work. When it comes to self-employment, you are probably already aware, because I know that you are aware that they're in Zagreb in particular, but it's available online, so the other users can also check the pages. There is Pravi Ured that deals with young entrepreneurs who want to start their own business, and they provide information on self-employment grants. Also, you can dig it on the Hrvatski Zavod za zapošljavanje. That's basically employment bureau. Any potential and available grants are listed there, and you can investigate and think whether you meet the criteria and apply for them. Beware that usually when you apply for a self-employment grant, you may use any other benefits you are given by the government. You can use that self-employment grant, but nevertheless you might lose some other grants and benefits that are provided, like free paid accommodation or some kind of social contribution or allowances you get in kind or in payments. Also beware that you will sign the contract for that grant, and you will have a certain criteria that you have to meet during your business activities. And you will also give probably some kind of instrument that will be used as a security for that grant being paid. And in case that you don't obey your, basically you breach your obligations, you might be in a situation that will have to return the whole funds or even pay some penalties. And also, because usually they take debenture, it's a so-called bianco zadužnica, so they can directly go to your bank accounts and get any money that you have there, and also start other enforcement procedures. Also, reputationally wise, you can be in a situation, also it could be really dangerous to decide to leave the country and to leave debts behind you. So beware of that, and before applying for such grants, attend workshops that explain how the grant works, ask around to see what are the experiences, and only when you are sure that you meet criteria and that you will have more benefits than you will have challenges, apply for those grants. I was also asked to tell something about how to start NGO in Croatia. So NGO in Croatia is basically a legal form of association, or in Croatian udruga. It's incorporated with the relevant city office for association. In Zagreb, it's the office is called Gradski ured za udruge i zaklade. Those ladies and gentlemen working there are really eager to help you, and you can ask them for the model document. You remember with the DO, j.d.d.o, we had articles association with the NGO, association udruga. You have a model statute. And minimal requirement of such model statute is prescribed by Zakon o udrugama, so Association Act. So you have to define your field of activities, mode of operation. You are basically, as NGO, you're a civil society organization that is non-profit. You may have employees, you may conclude business arrangements. But if you want to provide any kind of services, so-called gospodarske usluge, you have to be registered for such economic activities, for gospodarske usluge, gospodarsku djelatnost with the relevant city office, and it has to be clearly stated in your statute. Any proceeds you earn, any revenues that you earn for such registered economic activities, you basically can only use for the activities of the association. You can't pay them as dividends or as profit as you could do it with the DO or obrt. In order to incorporate association, you have to have at least 3 people. So they can be either regular physical natural persons like Petra, I, and third somebody, our friend, or you can have it also as a company or another association. There is no incorporation fee, but beware that as with the DO, j.d.d.o, and craft, you will have, from the day one, you will have a need of a professional accounting, because udruge or associations are really highly regulated, and you really have to have some accountant. You can't do it yourself. Will be able to give you right up-to-date advice and also help you with basically filing all the documentation that you have to file as udruga by law. So as I said, the money for the accountant has to be there, and also the money for the bank services. NGO procedure of incorporation is basically, as we said already, you have to apply for the registration with relevant city office for udruge. Once you have decision on incorporation, you also have to get a statistical number. The problem with the association is that still they don't issue digital documents, so it's not like with as it is with companies. You have to get your decision in person, and then you have to you can send it by email and ask from the Croatian Statistical Bureau statistical number for your association. You also have to go to FINA and register the true owner's status. So you have to identify all the people who are founders of your association. So therefore a minimum of 3 people or companies or associations have to be listed there. And once you have that, you can open your bank account and start your, and before starting your operations as udruga, you also have to register for non-profit organizations with Ministry of Finance. There is a template available online, and you can download it, fill it in, and send it by post to the Ministry of Finance. And then you can start your activity as a udruga. I also like to have some practical, let's say, exercises when I'm giving these lectures to future entrepreneurs. And usually, just to get you more into the spirit, I will share with you a few exercises. So first one is choosing your company name or business seed. Company name is the name you will be basically using to be present on the market. So beware that that company name cannot be identical or similar to already existing company name. it has to be unique. So you can go to Sudski Register, that's a website that is listed here, and check whether the name you want to use is already used, or maybe there are some similar names. The name has to be in Latin letters. It can use Arabic numbers, and it can be in any of the official EU languages. I put example here like Mariani Niza's video because I investigated and nobody used it. Business seat of the company is basically the city or the place, the town you will be located. Be aware that that location triggers the competence of the commercial court. So if you want to incorporate your company in Split, you will go to the commercial court in Split. If you want to do it in Našice, you will see which company court is relevant for Našice. But what you have to differentiate is basically that I put an example here that Omiš, it's a small city on Croatian coast. It's very near Split. It falls with commercial court in Split. You have to differentiate. The company has business seats, so the location where it's located on territory of local community, but it's not the business address. So when you choose business address, such business address, we will talk about it afterwards, can be basically anywhere in that city. But if you want to leave the territory of that city, you have to check whether you have also to change the business seat. When it comes to business activities, the same rule applies. You can check them on two places. You have to, as I said, beware that you have to be registered for that business activity. So you should not provide business activities you are not registered for. You can check it with the relevant Sudski Register. You go there and see similar companies and see what kind of business activities they already have. You can double check it in Nacionalna klasifikacija djelatnosti that is available online, and you can also ask the notary public or attorney at law to help you with identifying which should be the proper business activity based on what you desire to work how and what kind of operations, products and services you are going to have. One of the things you should remember is that not only when you want to open a hairdresser or a coffee bar or restaurant, not only you have to think about whether you have to have a certain master's degree, but also you have to have so-called minimalni tehnički uvjeti or minimum technical conditions that may apply for certain activities. So this is something that doesn't, it's not available in Sudski Register, but you can check it with the relevant city authorities. So if you want to open a restaurant, you can open a BOO. You can be registered for provision of food and beverages in your own premises. But once you want to actually start working, you have to check how many square meters, what kind of utilities you have to have. These are the things that are prescribed by local government. What are the hours that are available and basically permitted for that type of restaurant? So do investigate this and do take everything in the account before basically starting your incorporation. As I said before, business address is not business seat. So business seat, as we said, is like cities like Zagreb, towns like Našice, Virovitica, Sisak, and you have to, within the territory of that city, you have to decide where your business address is going to be. Your articles of association only define business seat, and your business address can be changed more easy, but it still has to be registered with the relevant company register, the Statistical Bureau, FINA, also tax authorities, and your bank. So beware that even if you change your premises, I don't know, you are working in a co-working space, and then you decide to, and you register your business seat and your business address on that address, and then you leave and you rent your own premises and you start your operations there. You have to basically not change it in your company register and notify all of those bodies in order to be completely in line with the regulations that deal with it. When it comes to company director, and this is the last exercise, you have to think about all the things that you have to have as a director, not as competencies wise, but as tax wise, that the person who is going to be director, no matter if you are founder or and director, or you have another person who you hire to be your director and you're only owner of the company, such person has to be employed with your company if it's not already employed in some other company. This is something that I really, really strongly recommend you to investigate and to be sure that you meet the criteria that are required, and not to be in a jeopardy that you might pay the default and you are paid social contributions, taxes, and also expose yourself to different kind of penalties. This is more or less everything that I wanted to share with you today. I know that you will be watching this afterwards, but nevertheless, you can send us any questions you have either through Facebook page, through IRA, or through SVOJA association, or directly use our business address, startbusinesstoday@gmail.com. And we will gladly try to give our best to answer all of your questions. If not, we will try to investigate who can answer your questions, or maybe direct you to the right person or to the right place. So this is everything that I wanted to share with you today, and I hope that it wasn't too boring and that you got some useful intro, because it's a big ocean there. So Petra, maybe a final word before we say bye.
Well, the final word is thank you. Well, I think it's definitely not boring for somebody who is starting a business and thinking about starting a company, because well, I was the one, still am, and as I talk to any other person, even these legal aspects were usually they brought a lot of excitement, which was not always so positive.
But you also have experience with udruga, so you know
Yes.
also how to run association, and you tried to be a freelancer and opened your own company, and then you return to corporate business and still have all of those legal entities. So you and you are definitely using all the benefits of all modes available in doing business in Croatia.
And finding every day that I should learn some more about it. So it's useful. Hopefully everybody who is watching will also find it very helpful, and we will organize further workshops or Q&A session by the end of the summer to help people more individually. So thank you, Mariana, and
thank you, Petra, and basically reach to us, contact us, and we are here to help you as we can. And good luck with all your business endeavors and also your private endeavors. So have a great summer, and bye. Thank you.